G. Whitesides. This is Nick Delahaye. Will be your host this evening. Do you want to say?
The first reader will approach the microphone.
Here she is. Please welcome her, even though no one knows who she is.
I formed my world at the beginning, and on the seventh day I rested. May it be your will that I don't drop dead. I am alone because I am a creator of things. I made a covenant with the concrete. Keep my tongue from singing psalms of myself. I flee children I don't want to bear. For this blessing I shall ever exalt you. Lord, my doubters cast aspersions on my character, stones on my fingers. I am the leader praising the only life I got with odes to Nietzsche and Zizek. Answer me when I call, O imaginary friends, fond of loving God, our imaginary friend. I am unique, exalted for the sake of my prophets. I will not reject my anointed. Hoshiana, give ear to what I have to say. Listen to me, and do not blame me when I make you feel badly for it. Hoshiana. I sang this to the Lord concerning death threats. O bluegrass, in you I seek refuge. For me, leader, a psalm of catharsis. Hallelujah, praise me in my sanctuary.
Our next reader is Clayton Albachton. Please welcome Clayton.
The poem Made Paranoid. A door whose hinges are like children squealing all the way down to a splash. Somebody slides a letter in. Our shadows underfoot so soon get up to show us out, no longer than it takes the cat door flap to fall back or the door to slam. All this activity leads away from us. No, I don't know anyone here, but I must confess I can't help but think again and again, they are not who they think they are. For tonight, for every night, they take me in for questioning. What were you saying in your sleep? What was it? Is it now? How so? So what? What? You? Why you? The moon. An image, imaginary one. I'm done with smoke and mirrors. No space here, not inside me, not in stillness or silence or sleepiness or sleep. Nothing between my heartbeats, save variations on God and emptiness. They want to take this idea away from me, take them back inside the words they belong to. They want to extend the taking forever. These bodies of light, my friends, come to visit me, fill me up with smoke, put the mirrors back in place. Now I'm full of ideas, and I can stay right here, with no spaces inside me. Magical thinking. Everybody I know went crazy just by my thinking about them. Exchanges are practiced in the magical land I live in. Silver coins, seashells, battalions of virgins anytime I so much as remove insects from their hair. All I wanted was a tasty bug. Now they seem to think even hunger is something special. But when I look at myself in the mirror, there's a problem. No one consulted me. Who signed the contract with the Creator in my name? Fucking identity theft is what it is. I put it in a pot of boiling water. It boiled down to a fortune cookie reading A Matter of Size. The Creator as salesman. These bodies are special. They have an ontological priority. I think I must have gotten my body from the restaurant I've been eating at my entire life. The one with the sign that says, free sex.
Through Androla.
Yeah.
This is a poem about trying to write about insomnia. I sat listening quietly to John Cage late at night when the lights burn low and even the crickets have gone to sleep. Jostled piano, knives through a sheet, little stabs in the dark, ink blots on a page, dripping rainwater on my hardwood floor. The jagged clusters too fall silent, and only the M trains passing can cheapen the quiet and dark now morning that felt expensive, bejeweled, and smelled of sage, but was like smoke elusive and gray, like my elaborate thoughts for a poem about the night. I don't know what to write. And then looking back another day, my meditations on Mr. Cage metamorphose into a metaphor of rasping altos and a soap opera star forcing tears and sob and wit. The lights fade quick, and I am left alone on the dark stage, musing on what it really means to wake, or why the sun does not wait for me to be ready to rise, but rises, throwing Diana's diadem across space in cold-hearted rage. Jaded Venus looks on, smirking at the siblings' drama, while Einstein sits on a beach somewhere, contemplating every star passing in relation to the rising of an Aquarian age, the death of Elizabeth Taylor, his grandmother's knit throw splayed across a tea-stained couch, the mortgage on his creaking house, the rolling waves against English crags. Such contemplations burgeon up into the cosmos, the metros, up into the nimbus clouds and angelic crowds where John Donne and John Cage and Jesus Freud sit discuss at length the anal stage and its influence on the poetic life. To think on all this is infuriating, the sure beginnings of insomnia. Uncork the wine, let it breathe, please, lest I shut myself off in a cage of my own. Thank you.
Rachel Cambray, who I hear is reading from her, I believe it's her 23rd novel.
A Nazi lieutenant and his young brother escaping Nazi-occupied Europe a week before D-Day, while their father, a Nazi colonel, hunts them down for desertion. And what just took place before this moment in the story is that the elder brother just killed two men who were tracking them down and trying to get them to take them back to Berlin for persecution. Sebastian lowered himself to sit by the fire he'd made, settling into place with a haggard sigh. His practiced movements stuttered with onset fatigue as he fumbled with the sleeves of his jacket. He laid it across the log, then hunched over as he picked at the buttons of his cuffs while staring absently at the fire. He cast a low glance at the car parked a few feet away. Jürgen was still sitting inside, staring out at the forest. If he had moved an inch in the last hour, Sebastian wouldn't have known. The fire at his feet offered little warmth. The man felt a shiver even as he tried to put himself closer to the heat. Killing Gertz and his man was nothing to him, but to someone like Jürgen, a boy raised to hero-worship soldiers in spite of not knowing what their livelihoods entailed, such an act had consequences. Sebastian guided his hands to rest, fingers splayed, upon his knees. Tension rose up to his shoulders and moved outwardly until every part of him, from tip to tip of his spine to the muscles of his arms and legs, was rigid, as if concrete had replaced the bones of his body and the blood in his veins, filling up every gap between joints and ligaments and arteries, until he was as solid as stone and just as cold. I saw it all happen. Sebastian glanced at the boy now sitting next to him on the log. He had heard the car door open, but had paid little attention to it. Jürgen still looked shaken. Their postures were matched, but the boy's face was gaunt. His voice had been like a gunshot in the stifling quiet, and in 5 words confirmed Sebastian's chief concern. The younger continued to stare into the flames while the elder watched him burn up from the inside. I could smell the rubber burning and his screams whenever he moved. I felt like I was caught behind something, behind a pane of glass, close enough to see and hear, but I couldn't stop you. Jürgen looked away from the fire at his brother. And I watched you. Everything you did. I saw you do it. And I wanted to stop you, but I couldn't. Why? Sebastian was genuinely surprised. The brothers stared at each other. Sebastian took Jürgen's silence as his invitation to respond. The sardonic expression on his face as he looked away from the boy was too subtle for Jürgen to interpret. but it unnerved him nonetheless. "I envy you sometimes," said the officer quietly. "Or perhaps I resent you. You see the world with such naivete, and it's a wonder that you've survived this long in wartime. Nothing has touched you, and it insults me. But today you saw firsthand what it is that I do, and what I have been doing since the moment Father thought I was old enough to hold a weapon. And your sheltered mind was too stunned by what your eyes saw that it could not give you the signal to look away. You could not stop me because if you had tried, a part of you knew I would cut you down too. I resent the lack of blood on your hands, that you have lived so long apart without hardship in some pitiable and safe little world that I have never known and will never know. I'm content with my lot, but every time I look at you..." Sebastian's speech trailed off, as if the idea slipped away from him as he thought it. The muscle in his jaw clenched, the shadow cast by it thrown into sharp relief by the firelight. His hands balled into fists, but stayed on his knees, and Jurgen watched him carefully, trying to comprehend everything his brother had said and struggling. Sebastian shifted in place and relaxed, the tension leaving him gradually. When all 10 fingers rested on his knees, the man closed his eyes and sighed. "I will not apologize for what happened today. I am doing what I must to keep you safe, and that entails doing what I have trained all of my life to do. The amount of blood I have spilled in the name of the Fuhrer could run an ocean red. If I told you all the things I've done, you could not stomach it to look at me as you are now." He opened his eyes. "But understand this. We do not have the time to get you to come to terms with any of it. You must cope with reality, Jurgen. And the reality is that you are now neck deep in a war you do not understand and cannot hope to survive without my help. You are not a civilian anymore. Accept that fact, push the terror from your mind, and maybe then we'll have a chance at survival. But if you let everything affect you so deeply, if you carry on like this, your mind will die long before your body does, and you will never see freedom. Do you understand me, Jurgen? The success of our escape depends entirely upon you." Jurgen was silent for only a moment. "I understand," he whispered. Blinking, he turned to look back into the fire, although he could feel none of its warmth. "May I ask you something?" "What?" An ember snapped and scattered sparks into the deepening night. "How is it so easy for you to..." Jurgen's voice was small and cautious. The word he meant to say braced on the tip of his tongue. Sebastian nodded. Jurgen felt cold as his brother replied, "It isn't easy. It never is. The blood on my hands has been well earned."